Hey, good afternoon, everybody. And this music means one thing. We got a little football cooking up again for this weekend, and we have an opportunity here to come on with Coach Giampa and talk a little bit about our Bay Path football team, where we're at, what we're doing, and as we prepare for our Thanksgiving game. Coach, great to have you with us today. Lots been going on. Let's first start right out of the gate here and talk about our last game a little bit at Blackstone. Thoughts? Good opportunity to recap it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought our kids played hard. It was a good game. BVT is a very good team. So, we had an opportunity to play a playoff football game, which is always exciting. That's our goal always at the beginning of the season is to make sure that we're playing meaningful games in November. And so, it was good to be there, but came up a little short. They executed a little bit better than we did. So, they did a good job and we had a lot to work on these past few weeks. So I was happy with the way the guys got right back at it and started, getting ready for this Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, Blackstone is no doubt a very good football team. You guys played hard. I thought it came right down to the end. Had a chance even to potentially win the game. And what more can you ask for as a coach there? I mean, it was a hard fought game. I thought the hitting was extremely hard. I thought that the kids played hard. A couple of weeks off is always good. But what are some of the key takeaways from that particular game?
Yeah, I was just proud of the way that the kids, especially in the second half, kind of refocused themselves. And again, this is the first time a lot of our kids have been in a playoff situation like that. They've been to those games, but this is the first time they kind of saw, the intensity and the focus and the the execution that's kind of needed in those games. So I think we were a little taken aback in the first half. But the way that they responded in the second half and came back and overcame a lot of adversity, I thought was really good. So it's certainly exciting for the future because I have no doubt that won't be the last time that those guys are in important games. So it's just a long wait, but that's the game. You can't win them all. And again, I think we can walk out of there with our heads up the way that they responded in the second half and started executing our plays and kind of trying to take control of that game.
I agree with you 100%. I'm looking back over your year and my time in coaching a long time ago, but I look at the tale of two seasons. You started off, you were learning how to win, learning how to bring the kids together to get that common focus. And, that second half of your season, you ripped off some really big wins, which are going to carry you guys forward. And, let's just talk very briefly, about the difference between the beginning and that second tier into the season and the growth you saw within your team.
Yeah, I think you said it. I think the biggest thing for us was just our guys needed to learn how to win and how to win close games. I mean, I can just, our first game, they came out of the gate and they were, they did a really good job. And then we stepped up the competition significantly. And again, for so many of our guys, we were just in a unique situation this year with so many of our guys having been on a team and working hard, but never really having the game in their hands. And so, learning how to overcome adversity, learning how, it's easy. All the coaching cliches are kind of easy, but, they had to learn how to, play 4 quarters of football against other teams that also want to win. So, I thought the schedule this year was incredibly difficult. And again, that's something new for our guys. A lot of teams that they don't have a lot of history with or haven't played before. So I think the biggest thing was just, slowly watching, in those early games when we would be down, the kids kind of being completely confused by what that's like to be down. And then, slowly, we got to see some really good teams. Again, Clinton made it to the semifinals. Northbridge made it to the semifinals. I mean, we got to see some really, really high level teams, and that, kind of exposed our guys to what high level teams look like. And then the second half of the season, slowly starting to figure out, like, you don't have to be up by 50 at halftime to be, to win a football game. You got to play 4 quarters of football. And then, the Millbury game was big. The Uxbridge game was big. The Nipmuc game, same thing. We had again, different guys stepping up and taking the game into their hands. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I noticed was, they stopped kind of waiting for other guys to do it. And we had more and more guys start to kind of take the step forward themselves, which led to some good things.
Well, that's the way you build a team. And again, when you can have others step up around you and not worrying about one person doing this and one person doing that. And kudos to you and the coaching staff. I think that takes time. And like you said, and that time is beginning to pay off. So let's switch gears a little bit now and let's talk about Assabet. There's a storied history between the two programs. It's great that we are now realigned. Jerry Passner, Al Demby, back in the years, 30 years, competed against one another. Now you're coming back and starting fresh. So first and foremost, let's talk about Assabet as an opponent. I know you got to prepare hard for them like you do for everybody else. On Thanksgiving Day, anything can happen. We understand that. So why don't you take it from there and talk a little bit about the preparation process for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, again, I'm a big Thanksgiving fan. I grew up in Massachusetts. I think that Thanksgiving football is special and unique. And I think it's important that, unfortunately, it's kind of the Thanksgiving game has kind of been diminished because of the realignments. And, people just kind of expect that, whoever you play on Thanksgiving is going to be a rivalry. But what people don't understand is that a lot of those rivalries took a long time to grow. And a lot of those rivalries that are, you think about the classic Thanksgiving rivalries. I mean, they're not rivalries because one day two towns decided to get together, two schools decided to get together and play each other. They're rivalries because those games were important and they meant something. And back in those days, the Thanksgiving was the last game of your regular season. So there's always playoff or Super Bowl implications to those games. And, unfortunately over the past, whatever many years, that game's kind of been diminished. Because now it's kind of like a random exhibition game. And I think a lot of schools have tried to kind of force, well, we'll play these guys and it'll be a rivalry, or we'll play these guys. But I think what you said is key, that, we have an already pretty standing rivalry with Assabet. They've been, the two schools have been playing together against each other forever, going back and forth, like you said, with Coach Passner and Coach Demby. And, the all-time series is 26-25-1. So it's a pretty even rivalry. It's gone back and forth. And I think it's exciting that we get an opportunity to, expose our kids now to this rivalry and, to continue to play with all the movement. And, we've missed a lot of teams that we've historically played this year, but, I think it was awesome that our two schools were able to get together and decide that, hey, this game is important. Our teams playing each other is important. So let's make it, Thanksgiving game. We'll kind of protect it a little bit by making it Thanksgiving. And I think both teams will be really excited to continue kind of the legacy that these teams have played for the past 50 years.
Yeah. What's the breakdown right now for wins and losses? And do you have that for historical significance?
Yeah, Assabet's got 26, Bay Path's at 25, and then there's a tie in there somehow.
Okay, so that gives us a little incentive to tie it all up and even off the series matchup. So let's talk about key matchups. I mean, Assabet has historically had strong teams. There's no doubt about that. And how do we match up this year with them?
They always have strong teams. As long as I've been here, they've always been, really well coached, and they execute really well in what they try to do. And they always have good athletes that are dangerous when they get the ball. So, we're going to have to play sound football. We're going to have young guys trying to step up in different spots, but that's kind of been our story all season. So by this point, nobody really cares about hearing about that anymore. So, it's going to be a good game. I think we match up well. But I think both teams match up well against each other. Again, it's Thanksgiving, so it adds a whole new dimension to the game. We're going to get whatever their absolute best shot is, and they're going to get hopefully whatever our absolute best shot is, and hopefully it's a good game.
Yeah, I always say throw out the records. Anything can happen on any given day in high school football, and that in high school sports. But I'll tell you what, I want to just recognize the preparation and the hard work that you and your coaching staff puts in weekly to ensure that our students are mentally and physically ready to compete at every level. I've watched it all year long. I think it's fantastic. You guys are doing a great job. And, I've always circled back and say wins and losses take care of themselves. They truly do. But the system in place is what generates year in and year out. And I am super excited, not only for Thursday's game, but for next season, for all you guys and what you have going on there. So weather's supposed to be good. Opening kickoff should be a good time, 10 a.m. out in Marlboro. How do you, again, once again, get the kids ready for that road trip and get them ready to play coming off the bus? That's one of the most challenging parts of being a high school coach.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I don't have to. It's the last. I started telling them this. Last week. This is, the last time that this team is ever going to be together. For the seniors, a lot of them, this is the last time they put on a football helmet. There's no rec league football when you get older. There's no pickup football when you get old. There's nothing like what they get to experience. And unfortunately for a lot of them, this is the last time they get to play with these guys. It's the end of a journey that for some of them started when they were 10 years old at AYF fields. And,
Yep.
If hopefully it doesn't require a lot of rah-rah on my part, because it should, that part of it should kind of take care of itself in the moment that this game is. I mean, like you said, I mean, we'll be back I said to our guys, we'll be back in the weight room in about a week. So,
Sure.
That's fine, but it'll be a different team, and every team is completely different. And, every team year to year is completely different. You're not the same person you were a year ago on this day, and these kids are all going to be a completely different person they were a year ago. So, when we meet up again with helmets on in August, they'll all be completely different human beings with different priorities and different, maturity levels. And so it's, this is the last time that, these kids have put in a lot of work together and fought really hard together for the past 4 years. And so this is the last time that those kids get to go out and play together as a team. So I think the biggest thing for us is just focusing on, having fun, enjoying themselves, all the hard work that they put in, and hopefully getting out of there, doing everything that they can do in the pursuit of winning a game.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit right into the pregame speech that's going to come out. What do you say to your seniors? I know you just you tiptoed around it a little bit here with your last words that you just brought out, but how do you make it alive for them, make them realize that playing football, being part of a team is a microcosm of life, and that you are opening doors for the rest of your life, whether you go to college, go to work, whatever you do. The skills that you get to take away from this experience will serve you in so many different capacities. But without me stealing your thunder, what are a couple things you're going to say to those seniors before they hit the field?
I just thank them. Because it's football is I know I'm a football coach, so it's a little, I'm biased, but football is such a different sport than any other sport. It requires such in my opinion, and I'm sure basketball coaches will disagree or baseball coaches will disagree, or that's fine, but it just requires such a different level of dedication and trust. And, my biggest thing is I just make sure I thank all the seniors, for putting their trust in me over the past 4 years to give them, what I try to be the best experience possible. And then just, to let them know that you love them, because you get to know these kids, when they come in and they're freshmen and, they don't know anything about anything, and they have all these different backgrounds and ideas. And, you get to literally watch these kids grow up from kids to young men who are going to hopefully take one thing from your program and carry it on into the world. And, hopefully they look back on everything that they did and they're proud, at the very least, they're proud of all the work that they put in, and they get to recognize that they did something that's really hard, which is to stick with something for 4 years and show up every day and work as hard as they can with, not a lot of guarantee of good or bad. I mean, football is a different sport. You can't rely on one guy to score 50 points. You can't rely on one pitcher to shut down a side. You can be, I look at like someone like Connor Reedy, who's, he can go to the weight room every single day and work as hard as he wants. And he certainly did. That kid worked about as hard as anyone we've ever had, but he's an offensive lineman, so he's got to just do his job and put faith that other guys have done their job. So hopefully, he walks away, and all those guys, though, they walk away proud of the work that they put in, and they look back on the whole thing fondly.
Well, I'll tell you what, as the head coach of a 200-person team here in this school, I want to say I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you as coach. I'm proud of all your coaches, your kids. You represented our school at a very high level. You didn't shy away from challenges this year. You rose to the level of competition, and you exceeded the level of competition, which is really things to be proud of. And again, that's all we ever ask for to do with all of our kids each and every day, whether in the classroom or on the fields, on the courts, wherever we go. Just raise the bar, elevate, represent, and really work hard. That's what you've done. So, hey, everybody out there, if you're around on Thanksgiving morning, you want to see the 52nd or so opportunity of these two teams clashing out in Marlboro at 10 a.m., we hope to see you there. And there it is. I like to move it. We're going to get this going. Good luck, Coach. Good luck to your players. Have a great game on Saturday.
Thank you. See you guys Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving.